This right here is just my microphone, and this microphone can actually be on your Mac, or it can be the wireless mic that if you have a wireless mic or a wired mic. And it's now broadcasting live, and people in Google Hangouts will actually be promoted this link, all my friends, and they click right on that link to share it. Because these links actually that they create, you can share to the event page itself, the YouTube page, or the video embed. So if I go to like the event page, I'll go to another browser so we can see it better. Here's the event page that I made for this Hangout tonight. And what's cool about it is this can actually be viewed on any device. It can be viewed on mobile. It can be viewed on iPhones, iPads, Droids, laptops, desktops. And so if I go to like the event page, see, that's it. That was what I just said. I'll go to another browser so we can see it better. And it's actually live. Oh, pretty awesome, right? So that's what that is. So let's go ahead and, Jack, go ahead and bring up your USB, and we'll do Al first. You'll be second. Jack, you'll be second, and then you'll be third. Okay. Once the third presenter is done, we're done. Just a note to the presenters, when you're up here, you have control of the Mac. Once it's started, you will be wearing this mic, this wireless mic. There's a button on the wireless mic you don't want to push because it'll turn it off. And post-session, I will email everybody of the podcast, and also if you had a keynote or a presentation, it'll also be in the email where you can access it.
So your network essentials, and it's just the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
Go down. No, I think, yeah. Look there. I think yeah.
Bitcoin?
Yeah, Bitcoin.
And does anybody have any sound on their presentations tonight? No sound? Okay. All right, Al, go ahead and come on up. You're first on docket here. Just go ahead and put that on your shirt somewhere if you're awesome. Yeah.
And then you just
make sure it's on. And then as far as advancing, you can just hit the right arrow key or back. Right arrow to advance, left arrow to go back.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's give Al our attention. It's all yours.
Oh, okay. From what you can see on the title TPC IP protocol, I went ahead and did like some of the more general stuff on the topic because I felt if I went ahead and did like a massively in-depth paper, I would just rewrote the book. That's basically what I would have done. And then one bibliography sheet would have been there, the book that we have. So I went ahead and did that. Did it go? You said the arrow up or down?
Yeah, go ahead and set that one.
No.
I didn't set yours up right. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
There you go.
Okay. Okay. The one thing I did concentrate on was the history. I found it very unique and very interesting. The whole thing started in 1969, and that's when the technology started coming out. At the time, it was the ARPANET at the time. Then they moved on to the Telnet in 1972, and in 1974, that's when TCP started becoming developed, and it got its name. The next big development after 1974 was in 1981, and that's when IP came out to join it. Also, about 1981 and about time frame of 1983, that was about the time when we started seeing personal computers coming out into the market. We started seeing a lot of the smaller ones, or well, kind of the bigger ones, and all those different storage devices to come to what we have today. The government was the one who went ahead and started. Actually, it was like a couple of scientific guys, and they asked the question, what can we do to go ahead and if we have all these different computers, like at the time, different computers didn't really talk to each other. What can we do to make sure that if I'm sending a message from Los Angeles to somebody in New York, to make sure that that message leaves Los Angeles and makes it to New York? That was a question or idea that came out, and then that's when they started coming up with the TCP and the IP protocol. And then here on this page here, the history also, and then it goes over the stuff that I mentioned. You know, transmission control protocol, the Internet protocol, TCP/IP, is the industry standard suite of protocols designed for large-scale internetworks that span LAN and WAN environments. So basically, your government computers, government's big, they had the big supercomputers, and some of your big corporations like GE or any other major corporation had the supercomputers. And to get them to the top, you know, GE shared information with the government shared information with GE. How would you get it? And that's what the idea was. That's basically the idea there. As the following timeline shows, the origin of TCP/IP began in 1969 when the U.S. Department of Defense commissioned the Advanced Network Projects Agency Network, a RAPNet. And then the RAPNet was a result of resource sharing experiment. The purpose was to provide high-speed network communication links between various supercomputers located at various regional sites within the U.S. Again, like the Los Angeles, New York example, Miami to Seattle, and all the other cities in between. Early protocols such as Telnet for virtual terminal emulation and file transfer protocol were first developed to specify basic utilities needed for sharing information across the ARPANET. As the ARPANET grew in size and scope, two other important protocols appeared. And then that was the 1974 one there, and then the 1981 that I mentioned a little earlier. And then on January 1st, 1983, ARPANET began to acquire standard use of TCP and IP protocols. As it came more and more towards our time, after 1983, that's when the TCP/IP protocol started coming together, and that's when the internet started becoming more of a known word. So actually, this was just basically the beginning of the internet at this time. And then today we have what we have, and then if any damage happens in one spot, your message will still go through another way, and that's what all this helped out to do. Now this is I went ahead and I found this particular thing, and I liked it. It was very interesting. Different layers involved, and then involved in the TCP protocol suites in the model. And you got the application layer, and that's the first group of things on top. Transport layer and TCP, UDP, that's more what I concentrated on. Then you got the internet layer, the IP, well, TCP, IP, and UDP. And then also on the bottom, you have the network layer. I went ahead and split everything up to explain more particularly what they did. The application layer defines TCP/IP application protocols and how host programs interface with transport layer services to use the network. And then the protocols include, we all know the HTTP, Telnet, FTP, and then TFTP, and you can read all the rest of them for that particular one. That's the first one, application layer. Then I went ahead and did the next one, which was the transport layer. Provides communication session management between host computers, defines the level of service and status of the connection used when transporting data. And then the three there, TCP, UDP, and RTP. And UTP, I got that one on the end. I forgot what that meant. All right. Then the internet layer, and then it packages data into IP datagrams, which contain source and destination address information that is used to forward the datagrams between hosts and across networks, performs routing of IT datagrams. And then you got your protocols, IP, ICMP, ARP, and RARP. And then the last one here is the network interface layer, and it specifies details of how data is physically sent through the network, including how bits and electrically signaled by hardware devices that interface directly with a network medium, such as coaxial cable, optical fiber, or twisted pair wire. And the protocols, Ethernet, and we all are very familiar with Ethernet, the token ring, the FDDI, X.25, FAME relay, RS-232, and the V.35. And those are protocols of the network layer, network interface layer. This particular one here reiterates some of the points and also explains some of the points that I may have kind of missed on the earlier parts. And in ITP, what it all does, network software based on industry standard networking protocols. A scalable cross-platform for client-server framework. Core technology and utilities for connecting your Windows-based computer and dissimilar systems and sharing information. And then there's another screen that'll go ahead and explain point number 3 even more. As a foundation for gaining access to global internet services such as World Wide Web and file transfer protocol services. And in this one here, the TCP/IP provides basic TCP/IP utilities, and then they enable the computer to share information. So in other words, pretty much when we go ahead and go on the computer and you have the right language, you have the right connection, Windows XP can talk to Windows 7. Windows 7 and 8 can talk to Windows ME or Windows 98. Windows 95 can talk to XP. Basically, Unix systems can work with anyone. So that's what it gave us also the ability for all of that. And even let's just say Microsoft comes out with Windows 9, 10, 20, 80, whatever they come up with. That will be able to communicate again with some of the older systems too. And then a user datagram protocol, and then this one does not have checks to make sure the signal gets to the final destination, whereas the TCP/IP, it has data checks and it makes sure that that information from Los Angeles will get to that computer in New York or to the other, whatever the device is. This one here is more of a random thing, but the difference is, what's so interesting about it, it is more functional. It is more efficient, that's what I mean to use, not functional, but more efficient to get the information there. And this is basically, I remember last night I was watching TV and then I had a problem with DirecTV. And it said my packets weren't being received. I was trying to watch a show back, and my packets weren't being received. And when I looked at that, I'm like, that's UDP. And that's pretty much it, because it's useful for broadcasting and video conferencing. So that's UDP. I'm like, oh my God, I look at that all the time and never really knew it. And that's it.
Oh, okay. Hopefully, good presentation, by the way. As far as in your research, if you had more time, was there one area that you'd want to maybe research more on or find out more was really interesting to you during your research?
I saw some of the stuff about domain names, and I would have gotten further into that.
Okay.
And then like I said, what the book did, it went into like the numbers, and it's like this going into this, the numbers and all that. And when I read that, it was like, obviously I could have used it, but as I said, I thought I'd be rewriting the book.
Sure.
And I'd be like standing here and going over everything, but for those of us who read the chapter, be like, I read that. What's he talking about? I read that. What's he going on about? I read that. I could have stayed home. Yeah. So that's why I didn't go that way. I did more of the history and some of the other details, and I thought the history is very interesting, because even though a lot of people look at 1969, the 60s as a decade of what happened, nothing really happened. We had a war and that was it. But a lot of the technology and stuff that we enjoy today came from the 60s. Yeah. And a lot of that stuff came from the 70s. So it was like, it was already there. We just didn't realize it then. And then with the improvements and people working on it, made it better for today. And that's why.
Good job. Good man. Yeah, 83 was the year of the internet when it started. It hadn't had that long. So Yeah, I was going to say, I think I've already invented the internet. All right, Jack. Yeah, I'll put the, yeah, go ahead and erase it. And I'll, if you wouldn't mind putting this on, just don't press that little button there. And I will give you some light there on the board.
Oh, is it set up so I can scroll through with the spacebar?
Yeah, spacebar, or I'd recommend the right and left arrow key on the right side of the keyboard. All right? Okay, it's all yours, Jack. Oh, yeah.
Alright, so this is the thing. I started writing my paper at the beginning, and everybody was real excited about Bitcoin. And then the biggest Bitcoin bank is Professor Congo's got hacked. They lost, I don't know if it was millions or billions, but I don't know. It looks like Bitcoin is kind of dead. But who knows? But okay, so let's talk about it for a second. So Bitcoin is just a different form of currency, like your dollar bills. Except it's all digital. I'm just thinking, what else is a form of currency other than our credit card, right? That's a form of currency. So Bitcoin was just a new idea to have your computer have a password, basically a passkey, to the database that would say, I have this Bitcoin. There wasn't supposed to be one database. It was supposed to be a network of computers, and that's where mining Bitcoins comes in. If you hooked up your computer, you would create Bitcoins, you'd run this algorithm on your computer, and you'd keep a little bit of the money for all the mining you made. The reason it was important is because the great idea was there was an algorithm against inflation. So you couldn't mint 100 million Bitcoins in a day. You'd have to follow the algorithm. So you could only mint these many new Bitcoins, and there were just supposed to be a finite number, and there still is just supposed to be a finite number of Bitcoins ever made, which means if they stop mining Bitcoins, I don't remember if it was 10 years or what it was, there's only a finite amount. That value goes super high. So people were investing a lot of money, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, buying Bitcoins, just waiting as an investment to triple their money in a couple of years. So, but it looks like it didn't quite. So, let's read this. So, Bitcoin is a new form of currency. It is transferred peer-to-peer and is digital. Bitcoins are created by a process called mining. This is where participants verify and record payments in Bitcoins in return for a mining fee. A registered user can mine Bitcoins on his computer or smartphone. Transfer of Bitcoins when buying an item involves electronic signing of a transaction, which assigns Bitcoins from one address to another. Bitcoin uses public key cryptography. A collection of keys is called a wallet. When a person buys something with Bitcoin, the keys put the virtual coins in the seller's virtual address. Bitcoins can actually be physical. If you go to Google Images, type in Bitcoins. The coins aren't worth anything, but it has a QR code on it. So when you scan it with your iPhone, it gets the address, it gets the key. So it's more symbolic than anything, but all money is symbolic, right? So Bitcoins can actually be physical. The key can be saved on a QR code on a piece of paper or even metal like traditional coins. All transactions are recorded in the log by Bitcoin miners who are paid a processing fee of Bitcoin or traditional currency. Originally, Satoshi Nakamoto published a paper proposing electronic currency in 2008. In 2009, the first Bitcoin wallet, Bitcoin QT, issued the first coins. The value of Bitcoin fluctuates wildly. In 2011, the value of Bitcoin rose from 30 cents to $32. When the Chinese government declared Bitcoin as a legitimate form of currency, the value rose to $1,100. Bitcoin is becoming more popular, however, in countries where the currency is heavily regulated by the government. In Argentina, Bitcoin is heavily used because the country's official currency is subject to high inflation. Also, it is used in Iran to overcome currency sanctions of other countries. You remember when we had the nuclear thing with Iran? We actually stopped any money going to them. And so people who had students, immigrants who still had family over there, couldn't send the money. Everything was locked down American-wide. So they sent the Bitcoins because that was unregulated by the government. So they sent their money to Iran with Bitcoin. Okay, so Bitcoin, however, is more resistant to inflation due to a software protocol standard. The Bitcoin protocol only allows the creation of 25 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. The total supply currently is 21 million. Every few years, the creation rate is halved. New Bitcoins, therefore, will only be created for the next 100 years. According to Wikipedia, large established firms that accept Bitcoins include Overstock.com, the Sacramento Kings, Tiger Direct, and Zynga. In November 2013, Richard Branson announced that Virgin Galactic would accept Bitcoin as a method of payment. Crimes involving Bitcoin include stealing Bitcoins, using botnets to mine Bitcoins, and using Bitcoins to purchase illegal items. This includes using Bitcoins for illegal online gambling and purchasing guns and drugs online. In April 2013, Electronic Sports Organized Esports Entertainment was accused of hijacking 14,000 computers to mine Bitcoins. Theft of Bitcoins is also an issue, as the key can be stolen using spyware on a server. So this I printed out today, news on Bitcoin. All right. It's not a Bitcoin service, but honorary mention goes to All in Vain, a member of the Bitcoin Forum, who in June 2011 became hacked. 25,000 Bitcoins were stolen from their wallet after hackers compromised the Windows computer they were using. Even at the time, the sum was worth more than $500,000. It would be now worth as low as £10. Okay. It would be now worth a little less than £10 million, what it says. Okay. Mt. Gox. At first, Mt. Gox hack came a little after Alamance. The company, which at the time had a near monopoly on the trade between Bitcoins and real money, suffered a catastrophic hack just 1 week later. They made a massive... Okay, so the site was hacked and then made a massive sale of Bitcoins, causing the price of the currency to drop from $32 per coin to mere pennies. Ironically, the hackers themselves didn't even manage to profit from it. Their attempts to withdraw the looted money hit up against Mt. Gox's withdrawal limit of $1,000 a day. That didn't stop the attack, having a catastrophic effect on confidence in the currency. It was 18 months before Bitcoin would recover enough to hit the highest it had been at before Mt. Gox had. Following the collapse of the first Bitcoin bubble, hacking activity died down for a bit, with Bitcoins worth single-digit dollars. There was less motivation to steal them. But in the summer of 2012, one of the biggest in Bitcoin terms scams ever began to fall apart. And unlike much of the Bitcoin world, no hacks were needed, just good old-fashioned fraud. A company that posed as a virtual hedge fund promised to pay high rates of interest to investors. In classic pyramid style, only the first people to invest ever saw those rates in return, as the money of later investors was used to pay off early ones. And this was just 2 pages. It goes on for like 10 or so. So Bitcoin, that's Bitcoin. So I basically talked about everything in my slides, so I'm not going to go through it again. I just want to show you. So definition, Bitcoin is a new form of currency and is transferred peer-to-peer. Bitcoin uses public key cryptography. A collection of keys is called a wallet. Origin of Bitcoin was Satoshi Nakamoto published a paper. And then Bitcoin was becoming more popular, but has a problem now. So resistant to inflation. Crimes involving Bitcoin, I talked about those. Botnets to mine Bitcoins, using Bitcoins to purchase illegal items, etc. And that's it. Any questions?
Well, great presentation. I didn't know this, Jack, but I'm just looking while you were talking on GeekWire has an article they just posted today. Seattle has the very first ATM for Bitcoins, and the price for Bitcoin today, right now, is $450 for one Bitcoin. So people are just like going crazy to buy Bitcoins right now. So I guess it's reversed. Whatever damage was done is totally. In fact, it said in here the New York Stock Exchange has given its plus or stamp of approval on Bitcoins as of yesterday. So it sounds like it's looking up for Bitcoin. Bloomberg offered its stamp of approval last week for Bitcoin, saying its financial data terminals will give people a tangible way to buy Bitcoins. But $450 per Bitcoin as of today, and it's growing. So that's pretty awesome. I think there's going to be more secure for sure because of freedom. So good job, excellent. Good job. All right, next presenter and last presenter. And do you need the whiteboard, or do you need a laptop connection, or what do you need?
I've got a picture that I want to put up.
Okay, awesome. I can do that, please. You want to put that on? Just I'll push a button in front, and I'll get the picture up for you. Where's that? In the other?
It's
School?
networking. Top line. It's the last page.
Okay. I'll go full screen for you. Let's see. So I get this layout here. Here's that big ribbon that might help. There we go. How's that? Good. All right, it's all yours, sir.
My presentation is on network storage, devices, setups, stuff like that. So pretty much how all computers work in terms of memory is pretty similar to the human brain. If you've got your short-term memory in RAM mostly, and then long-term memory in either hard drive, solid-state drive, tape, or CDs. And well, hard drives pretty much evolved from this thing, which holds 123 megs. It has.
You don't live in video on. 123 megs.
123 megs.
Heavier than expected.
Uses probably over 6 platters. I guess I should explain what the guts are. Each hard drive has its spindle, platter, and read-write head. Basic, I guess. It can have anywhere from 1 to, I think normal, or today's usually have like 1 to 3 or more. And each platter can have up to 2 read-write heads, 1 on each side. And it essentially just spins the platter really fast, and the head will move around on the disk and catch whatever data that you have on it. And I think the slower ones can be around 5,000 RPMs, and the really good top-of-the-line ones run at 15,000. I think that's the max for today's technology. That one that I'm passing around is just a single platter, 2 read-write heads, spins at 10,000 RPMs, and is like 76 gigabytes. And now it's gotten to laptop hard drives. This one's 80 gigs. Can't really tell right off the bat how fast it spins. They get pretty tiny now. And that's pretty much the basis of most of the modern servers and storage networks that are being used today. There's still like solid state drives, which are slowly gaining popularity, but they're really expensive. So it's just a more economical alternative to use hard drives over solid state. And I guess I could just get into setups. There are a couple different ways that you can set up your storage. One of the more scalable ways is with a NAS, or network attached storage. That's pretty much just a box that has a bunch of hard drives in it. And that can be pretty much whatever size you want, depending on what hard drives you put into it. And it can connect to multiple computers, backup, whatever you want. Not usually used for backup anymore, though. And there's the SAN, storage area network. Difference between NAS and SAN is, well, SAN is a lot bigger. It's storage area network, which is fiber connected. A NAS is usually Cat5, Cat6. So there's that difference just in speed. SAN network can, it's like each server in a SAN network knows that each one is there, but it can only see one at a, or not see one at a time, but access one at a time. So that makes it pretty easy to either mirror your data, which like you can just copy and paste pretty much, so they'll be the exact same information on everything. One of the main ways that people will protect against like disk failure is if you've got a hard drive or a setup of a bunch of disks, is they'll set up your RAID configuration. RAID is the redundant array of independent disks, which I don't know, there's like 10 different setups for it. Most of, or yeah, I guess I'll just get into what normal ones are. RAID 0 is it's a setup that uses something called striping, which takes your chunk of data and it splits it up into pieces and writes it over several different disks. It's really efficient. You can get all of your stuff on and do that, but as soon as a drive fails, you've lost pretty much everything because it doesn't know where that data went anymore. RAID 1 mirrors data, so it's a lot more fault tolerant. You've got everything copied on 2 disks, but obviously that halves all of your storage. RAID 5 is that uses something called pairing. It takes the data off of, I don't know, I guess it'll use a piece of your data and it will save that on a different drive. And if one of your other drives happened to fail, it would just be able to find your paired data, I guess, I don't know what you'd call it, and collect it again, or fix it. So that's a lot easier to fix. And then there's RAID 01, which really isn't used anymore. RAID 10, RAID 50, that's just combinations of 0, 1, 5. So yeah, that's pretty much RAID and storage and stuff. This is the network setup for Leibovich steel. That's a little high. Here, low. They've got just get that paper for this. All right, they've got their virtual servers, or VMware, and virtual here and up there. Their switches there, with iSCSI connections across and between each one of them. iSCSI connection is what this one uses, just a strip. They don't really use iSCSI anymore, just because they maxed it out. Like, its limitation is how many pins you can put in that slot. So they came up with something better. And it's, I don't know. Well, Leibovich pretty much has, what did I do with that? Has two servers with 8 450 gigabyte hard drives in each server, and all 8 of those are in a RAID 5 configuration for about 3 terabytes per server, and that's all just backed up and set up like that. So each server is network rated to each other server, the other server, in RAID 1, so it's just mirrored over. So essentially you could have one server just completely shut off and no one would ever notice because the other server would just pick it up, and that's about it. Yeah, that's really all I got.
Good presentation, by the way. As far as homebrew, I know there's a lot of sites, a lot of places you can go to build your own. Sand. Do you recommend any sites or recommend any? I know there's ones you can just buy off like Amazon too. Low end consumer and type, not high end. But is there anyone that you recommend or that you've seen during your research maybe? Or?
I haven't really seen them. I just picked up the concepts mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you get that shirt?
ThinkGeek.
Where? Okay.
Where'd you do that?
ThinkGeek.com.
Okay, sweet. Any other questions? All right, well, good job. Let's give him a hand. Yeah, where'd you get the first autograph?
That's one that my dad collected.
Really? That's awesome. I got a picture. I got 3 pictures of it, so that's awesome. Good job. All right, well, the rest of the presenters next week. Everybody else that didn't present tonight. And then let's, real quick before you leave, make sure we know what we're bringing next week. I'm bringing pizza. All right. And let's just go ahead and tally out what you guys want to bring. That way we're not like everybody bringing a bag of chips. All right. So
I'll bring the
cookies. There you go. Cookies. Anybody who wants to bring chips? So no, chips is easy. So who wants to bring the chips? First hand up for chips. Anybody? Not one person. How about napkins? We need napkins and plates. That's an easy one. Napkins and plates. Who wants to choose that one? Next Thursday. There you go. Napkins and plates. Got it. Feel like an auctioneer. Okay, going once, going twice. Okay. All right, water, bottles of water. It's always easy. Coke over here, and then somebody want to bring some water? Water back there, great.
Water and cheesesteaks.
Ooh, awesome. Yeah, I can't have that. And we're missing now. Let's see. Oh, we have to have something healthy. Anybody want to bring some veggie something like veggie tray, or you guys are having to look at it for that. I don't want a veggie tray. You don't want a veggie tray, maybe forget veggie tray. How about chips? We still going back to chips. Nobody did chips. Okay, chips. All right. So is everybody bringing something? What do you want to bring? Huh?
We still need.
Let's see. I think we got napkins, we got plates, we got cups. Cups. We don't have cups. Or if we do drink, are you going to bring 2 liter, Jack? Or
Cans. I'll buy
you bring can? Okay. No, I need cups then. Let's see. Anything you want? How about anything you want to bring? Don't matter. It can be donuts. That sounds good. We don't have donuts.
Donuts, yeah.
Donuts are good any time of the day. All right. Well, good job, everybody. Good presentation tonight. And this the podcast will actually be posted on our course site. I'll email everybody the link along with all the presentations. And I did take a picture of the, how big was that drive anyway? 123. The big 123 meg or 125 meg hard drive. Took a good picture of that. And so thank your dad for letting me bring that. So I know that probably prizes that possession. So. Well, good job. I'll see everybody next week. If you have any questions about anything, come up and see me, class-wise or anything like that. Have a great weekend.